Hi guys, it's Suzanne HB again. Crazy Just Might Work on Instagram. I wanted to share with you a new bracelet of mine, which I'm calling Hidden Firecrackers as part of the Hidden series. I thought it was a really cool way of putting a band together. These are all actually separate, but when you link them all together, they do look like a row of Chinese firecrackers. So I thought that would be really cool, and it's a fun way of using beads. And again, it's another design that you can just play around with and make your own. Alrighty, so I've started the bracelet. Pardon me, this was my sample piece that I made. So I've just used it as a cap band. But if you were going to just do a band, it only requires one pin bar. You're going to do double bands all the way, not capped, just double bands all the way down the loom. I'm using 2 loom lengths, but you could use one and do a transfer. So I'm making mine 2 loom lengths. I think that should fit around my wrist at 2 loom lengths with maybe a small extension, I'm not sure. Alrighty, so what you'll need is your bands. I think you're probably going to need about, oh gosh, there's 50 of the bands that you're going to use as your 55 of the ones you're going to use as the linking bands, and then you would need 2, 4 for every extra one of those. You need 4 bands, so that's about 100 of the red bands, about 50 of the well, actually probably about 75 of the gold bands, because the gold bands are internal as well. 1, 2, 3. So no, you need about 100 of those. Sorry, I'm just doing a rough estimate. I should have thought about that beforehand. Alright, these are only quite tiny pony beads, so that they sit nicely and neatly next to one another. But if you had bigger beads, you could even make it a bit of a 3D thing by having them set one above, one below, and that would give you an interesting textured finish to the band. But I wanted them to sit flat, like that. Alright, so let's get on with it. You're going to need a 2mm crochet hook. Smaller would be a bit hard to keep the bands on the end as you're sliding your cap bands on, so I'd probably go for 2mm. We are going to be doing quintuple capping, so 5 times round for each loop. And I found I'm using some of the Persian bands, and they were a little sticky, so it's quite firm to get them on, but it is doable. If you find the Persian bands are a bit sticky though, just stick with something that's a bit more slippery, and they'll be much easier to get on. I've also done the Persian bands on the inside as well, which also added to the stickiness of sliding them on. But once I'd started, I liked the look, so I thought I would persist. But the easiest bands to slide on, of course, are the jelly sort of bands, so you can choose your own collar combo and your own type of bands. And of course, I would love to see it when you do, so that I can have a look what they look like. Alright, so it's quite simple. If you want to, you can make a whole pile of the side pieces. These side pieces are all separate, so you can make a whole pile of these side pieces and then attach them on one after the other, or you can make them and attach them as you go. So I'll show you the making and attaching as you go, and then I'll come back and I'll show you the full band. Alrighty, so we're going to have a quintuple capped band, so 5 times round, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we have our, sorry for the crinkling, we have our Persian band, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep getting too close for it to focus, I'll try hard. And then another red band. So again, your pattern you use for this is just completely up to you. I just like the look of this, and it really made me think of firecrackers and Chinese New Year. Alright, so that's one side that you have there. The next thing that you need to do is get another of, I used the same colour as I'd used in the middle. I wasn't sure how much it would show, but as you can see, it does show coming out of the bead there. So you do need a one that will match in. Perhaps not a Persian band would be my recommendation, but it is possible. I'll show you. So you've got your Persian band and you need your bead. So I've got these little silver teeny tiny pony beads, nice big hole in the middle. So you slide your bead on, and then with the Persian bead, I call it the inside band. With the inside band, first you just slide the bead on roughly to the middle, and then create that looping back. So you create like a little loop with the bead on it, and that's what you're going to slide these capped bands onto, is the doubled loop with the bead on the end. So trying as always not to lose the bands, but as you can see they don't kind of go very far, so even if you lose them you can just pop them back on again. Alrighty, so I will try and keep this in camera shot and not let them slip off. So I've been doing them one at a time because it has been a little bit hard to slide it, but slipperier bands would work well. You really do have to be firm with them. Push it down. Next one, on it goes. Oh, knew that would happen. Alright, so let's just re-loop that. Isn't it good when people making videos make mistakes, so you know that it's no drama when you make them when you're making your band? Alright, yeah, I did that on purpose, promise. Alright, so please get it back in shot. So I've been using this thumb to give it a bit of a push as well, rather than having to use my left hand, so that I can get a bit firmer pull on this side. Ah, that's better. Alright, sorry if I'm getting in your way a bit here. These quintuple capped bands are a bit interesting to work with. So the last one, sorry, try that pushing again, which is what I've been doing. Give it a push over and slide it along. Right, so each piece that you do is going to be exactly the same as that. So as I said, you can make all of the pieces, and you're going to need 2 for every peg on your loom, on your pin bar. So if you're going up the full loom, I think it's about 26 pegs. Oh, well, it'll be about 25 pegs because you'll skip the first one and put a cap band on it. And then all you do with that, see if I can get this nice and close, is you just loop that one over the top and leave it on there. Alrighty, and it sits kind of neatly on there. So you go back and you make another one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, so remember the next step is to grab your bead and your internal band, whatever colour that is, hook it on, slide the bead on, I must say it's a little easier to do this, in fact it's a lot easier to do this if you're not trying to video it at the same time. So if it looks awkward, it's not quite as awkward as it does look while I'm videoing it. Alright, so we've got that now, that loop with the bead on it, and we're going to use that as our internal band. So we'll slide that on with your thumb, because you do have to keep it quite firmly on there. It's a little bit easier after that first one's on, but if you're using a springy band like those Persian bands, it does take a little bit. And the last one. Alright, so there's the other side of our firecracker. So that just simply goes on. Sorry about the noise in the background, that would be my son with his friend. So that one simply goes, let's see if I can get this in a better position. Simply goes onto that same one that you put the other one onto. So now you've got 2 on the same. Just pull that out to the side a little. Alrighty, now that is going to be what you do. Pardon me. So that's what you're going to do up the whole loop, and then you're going to loop them together. Alrighty, so I will come back when I've done the rest of the loom, and we'll do the looping and see how our bracelet turns out. Alright, so here I am back again, having done the side parts on all of the bits all the way up the loom, and now all we need to do is actually loop them together. Now I must admit to having got impatient, because this is the first time I've made a full length of this bracelet, because I just invented it this morning. So I have kind of already looped some and taken it off just to see how it was coming along and to check the length that I would need for my wrist. So this is how it's going to end up looking at the end, which I think is really cool. Alright, so now I'm assuming that if you're attempting this bracelet, you're an advanced loomer. So it would mean that you know that at the end of your pin bar, when you've got the last bands there, you've got your first sort of the firecracker parts going on that one, you'd put a cap band on there and you'd start looping up. So apologies for not making that absolutely clear, but I figured that whoever's watching this would be pretty much up with what they needed to do on those basic band instructions. So anyhow, this part is really straightforward as well. You won't be able to see it all that easily, but it's just a case of going in underneath the bands that are hooking the side parts on, grabbing your chain that's underneath and hooking it up to the next one. So it's a very simple, apart from the fact that it's a little bit tight, it's a very simple hooking process to get this to the top. So it's just, except for the tension. I'm doing this again at an odd angle, but here we go, hooking that up there. So you just keep doing that all the way up the loom. Oops, try not to let them pop off like one just did. And there's a fair amount of tension on those bands that you're going in behind. Just see if I can get this at a better angle. Sorry about that. Again, I'm sure that if you're doing this, you've got a pretty good idea of what's going on already. I'm going in underneath those bands, pushing back and grabbing that. There's two under there. Ooh. This is much easier when you're doing it and not trying to video it, so you won't have any problem with this step. Right, so it's a simple double chain going up. Alrighty, I'll go off camera, I'll finish that off, and then you can see what it turns out like. Okie dokie, so I'm back again, and I've finished just looping up all of those, the chain through the middle, and we're ready to hook it off. So I'm just going to grab it, and actually, no, what I will do is I will do what I did on the other end, which seemed to work kind of better. It's pretty tight on each of these. So instead of just pulling at them, I got in and I just hooked each one off so that it wasn't putting too much tension onto the joining bands. So I hooked all of those off all the way down. Because there is, as you can see, a fair amount of tension on here, because we've got those tight internal bands, one on each side for the side pieces. I'm pulling my loom apart. Alright, sorry, I'm completely out of camera range, but you know what I'm doing, don't you? Alright. So when we get to this top one, I'm going to put my hook in, and I'm going to take those off, because I'm going to put the C-clip over all of those. So I'll take those off onto my hook, pop the last one on, and see what we've come up with. Right, there we have basically the same both sides, the firecracker bracelet. So I'm going to put a C-clip on. Got my C-clip. So I tend to pull the bands off and manhandle them So I've got a real feel for where the C-clip would go, particularly when there's things that are tight. Okay, so got my C-clip on there, and then at the other end there will be a cap band that we can attach that to. Just find the cap band. Now I happen to make the cap band the gold colour. I'm not quite sure why I did that, but I think maybe I would do that the colour of the rest of the chain the next time. So hook that one on. Yeah, maybe so. And maybe I would do a triple cap band to make it tighter. I may even take that cap band off and replace it with just another band so that it is a tighter look. Let's see. There we go. So if I can get my wrist in shot, there's my firecracker. You can twiddle with these ones. I'll be placing all sorts of different directions. Give it a bit of, that's the firecracker bracelet. So I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Give me any constructive criticism. I'm assuming that anybody doing this, as I said, was an advanced looper. And if you needed any extra instructions, I'm sorry if I didn't provide those. Hopefully you caught on enough as you went. Alright, I'll see you next tutorial. Bye guys.